For over 40 years, there was this one lecture at MIT that became a total campus tradition. And it wasn't about AI or rocket science, it was about something way more fundamental: how to speak effectively. In this explainer, we're going to unlock the absolute best lessons from that legendary lecture by Professor Patrick Winston. It's a framework that can seriously transform how you get your ideas across.
Right out of the gate, Winston would hit his students with this powerful and, for a lot of people, kind of shocking claim. Just look at that order. It's not just about having brilliant ideas, it's about whether you can communicate them. He was convinced that this skill isn't some nice to have. No, it is the #1 thing that determines your success.
So, to take all the mystery out of public speaking, Winston came up with this really simple formula for making an impact. He said, your success is all about your knowledge of the techniques, your practice, and your natural talent. But here's the kicker. Look at how he weighted them. Talent is the least important thing on the list. What really moves the needle is the K, the knowledge, the actual techniques, and that's something absolutely anyone can learn. And to really prove his point, he loved to tell the story. He was out skiing one day and saw the Olympic gymnast Mary Lou Retton, right, a world-class athlete, but she was really struggling on the bunny slope. And he realized, hey, I'm a much better skier than she is. And why was that? Well, she had the talent, the T, for days, but he had the knowledge of skiing technique, the K, and years of practice, the P. It's such a brilliant way to show that knowledge and practice will beat raw talent every single time. Okay, so if knowing the techniques is the key, let's start building that knowledge. We're going to start right from the very beginning. Those first few words you say. How do you grab an audience and actually make them want to listen to you? Well, Winston's answer was this simple, powerful idea he called the empowerment promise. Think of it like a contract with your audience. You're basically telling them, hey, I'm not just going to take up your time, I'm going to give you something super valuable in return. You tell them exactly what new skill or insight they're going to walk away with. It gives them a real reason to tune in. And this leads to a super important point. You know that common advice to open with a joke? Winston thought that was a huge mistake. Right at the beginning, the audience isn't used to your voice or your style, and a joke can just fall completely flat, and then it's just awkward. Instead, he said start with that promise. You build immediate value and connection right from the get-go. Okay, so you've made your promise, you've got them hooked. But now for the hard part, right? How do you keep that attention going through the whole middle part of your talk? Winston had a few core strategies for doing exactly that. He laid out these 4 simple but honestly game-changing tools. First up, cycling. You state your big idea 3 times, once at the start, again but in detail, and then one last time in the summary. Second, build fences. You make your idea clearer by explaining what it isn't. Third, use verbal punctuation. This is just using signposts like, so my first point is. It creates these little seams in your talk, so if someone gets distracted, they can easily, as he put it, jump back on the bus. And finally, ask a really good question to get their brains working again. So let's talk about the tools of the trade. I mean, these days, that almost always means slides. But Winston had some very strong opinions on how they should be used, and maybe more importantly, how they shouldn't. He truly believed that most presentations commit what he called slide crimes, things that actively work against the speaker and just end up confusing the heck out of the audience. And here is Exhibit A for the prosecution. We've all seen this, right? Tiny fonts, walls of text, cluttered backgrounds, and then the absolute worst sin of all, reading your slides out loud. Our brains just don't work that way. If your audience is busy reading a dense slide, they physically cannot listen to you. And don't even get him started on laser pointers. He said there was a special circle in hell for people who just dance them all over the screen. The solution, he argued, is all about radical simplification. It's based on one core idea, and if you remember anything, remember this. You are the main course. The slides, they're just a seasoning. They're there to make the main event better, not to replace it. So this is the before and after. To stop committing those slide crimes, you gotta embrace simplicity. We're talking huge font. Get rid of the titles, the logos, all that clutter, use almost no words, and maybe just one single powerful image. The slide should just expose an idea. It's your job to teach it. And he had this wonderful, witty reason for another one of his rules. Always keep the lights on. A dark room literally tells the brain it's time to go to sleep. Your slides and your delivery should be engaging enough all on their own. You don't need the cheap drama of a dark room. Winston was also a huge advocate for using physical props. He loved telling the story of a physics professor who showed the conservation of energy by releasing this massive steel pendulum right from his own nose. As it swung back and stopped just millimeters from his face, you could hear a pin drop in that lecture hall. I guarantee nobody ever forgot that lesson because they felt it. That's the power of a great prop. All right, you started strong. You kept them hooked through the middle. But those final moments, that's what people really remember. How you stop is every bit as important as how you start. So many speakers just end with a whimper. They waste that last chance to make an impact. A slide that just says questions is just visual dead space. A long list of names just dilutes your own contribution. And ending with a simple thank you, in Winston's opinion, was a really weak move. Here's the psychology behind that. Saying thank you can kind of imply that the audience did you a favor by sitting through your talk. Instead, Winston suggested something he called a salute. Say something that shows you value them, like, "It's been so fascinating to see the work you folks are doing here." Compliment them. Don't just thank them for their time. And that brings us to Winston's final and maybe most important rule. Your very last slide, the one that stays up on the screen during the Q&A, should never, ever be blank. It should be a summary of your contributions, just like this one is. It's your final statement. It's what you accomplished and what you gave the audience. So, our contribution to you today is this list of ideas you can start using right away. These aren't just random tips. They're a whole system for making sure your ideas get the attention they deserve. The only real question left is, which one are you going to use first?